So here's one thing to talk about real quick in regards to the really short AR-15 pistols out there and SBRs, and that is the 7.5 inch even worth looking at when it comes to the 5.56 223 cartridge? There's some different schools of thought, but one thing is a fact. The 5.56 and 223, you need to have a good amount of velocity out of the round for most rounds to do the job right. When you start dipping below a certain amount of velocity, the rounds, they'll still poke holes and such, but they just kind of lose that kinetic energy that they would have otherwise. And that becomes a problem with the 7.5 inch barrel, because a lot of rounds are really losing a lot of velocity, and they're dipping below 2,200 feet per second down to 1,900, 1,800, 2,000 feet per second. And that's kind of getting below rifle velocities. You're starting to get damn near pistol velocities, at least magnum high pressure load velocities at that point, and you're going to suffer as far as just the kinetic energy impact that you want on the target. Granted, there are some really lightweight 223 rounds out there, the varmint rounds that'll work out of these and still get you a good velocity. But I was kind of looking at different self-defense options, and I kind of figured, all right, what would I want to go with? Now, if it was a standard 16-inch, 18-inch, 20-inch, even 14.5-inch, I'd go with the standard 55-grain ball, and it'll do just fine, in my opinion, for self-defense. And there, of course, there are some self-defense loadings that are purpose-made for those applications. But one thing I looked at is just looking at charts and looking at research that's been done already out there as far as what round works well, and then kind of bouncing that off of what I have in my inventory. So what I'm doing with this particular 7.5 inch, this is from Bear Creek Arsenal, the upper is, it's a 7.5 inch pistol. So what I did is I decided to go ahead and run these loads through it for as far as self-defense. These are Spear 64 grain expanding soft point ammunition. I'll take one out here so you can kind of see up close. There it is right there. It's not really a hollow point, it's just an expanding tip right there. It's more like a soft point. And these, from what I gather on the stuff I've seen done with them out of a 7.5 inch barrel, they're sitting right around 1,900 feet per second and change. So that's really slow in 223 terms. But you still get good penetration and good expansion at those distances. And now that's through the gelatin tests and whatnot. So keep in mind, the gelatin tests are exactly what they are, just a gelatin test. It's not going to be an exact replication of what's going to happen when you take into consideration if we're shooting at meat, bone, clothes, going through intermediate objects, all that good stuff. If you're penetrating through drywall or the side of a car door or whatnot, there's kind of different things to look at. But out of my inventory that I have for 223, that makes the most sense for this particular gun, which kind of surprised me because I figured, well, I'm probably going to have to go really lightweight as far as grain-wise to get what I need. But these seem to work decently, so that's what I'm going to stick with. And they also cycle really good. I don't have any issues with it. Generally, though, it looks like what you want to do is you want to go with the real lightweight stuff if you want to use a 7.5 inch. I know the 10 inchers and stuff are kind of more preferred for as far as the AR-15 pistols and SBRs and whatnot. And certainly the numbers are a lot better out of those. But it's just something cool about having an ultra short AR-15 pistol that I really like. And that kind of brings up another thing real quick. Comparing an AR-15 pistol in 223 to a 9mm pistol such as this FX9 right here. This FX9 has a slightly longer barrel length, and I have to ask the question to myself, all right, so do I gain anything having a 7.5 inch 223 over a 9mm and roughly the same length? And these are both pistol configurations. So I thought about it. I said, okay, well, I still have decent velocity. I'm going to have more velocity numbers-wise out of the 223, of course. The 9mm is going to be obviously a little bit less in velocity, quite a bit less actually, but I do have a lot more weight. You're talking 64 grains right here, versus this one right here is 115 grains, and if you throw a 147 grainer in it or whatnot, then there you go. You have a significant change in bullet weight. And you're still going to get extremely good performance, because a 9mm, if you take a 9mm round that was designed for a 4-inch, 5-inch barrel, shoot it out of an 8-inch barrel, you're just going to get that much more performance. It's not a huge amount of performance, but you do get a little bit more feet per second, a little bit more energy, and that's going to help in your favor when it comes to the 9mm stuff. So I think to myself, all right, so what do we got here? Do we have any specific pros? Well, I haven't done any testing at the 100-yard line and 50-yard line, but I would assume that the 223 is going to be a little bit more consistent at those distances. So if we're talking longer ranges, then yeah, the 223 is going to beat out. I still think the 223 may, as far as the energy transfer, I honestly haven't looked at those numbers. So I'm trying to think, okay, the 223 just number-wise, it has a lot more feet per second than the 9mm does, because it's still sitting right at about that 2,000 feet per second, just a little bit less out of this particular load. So it beats it there in the numbers. So I think you might have just a little bit more energy transfer overall. I think it's negligible, because I think, you shoot a guy center mass with either one of these, and it's going to be a bad deal. Or an animal. If you have to dispatch an animal, I think it's just going to be a bad deal for the animal no matter what. So, the one thing that I think the 9mm has over the AR-15 223 is the fact that there's going to be a lot less muzzle blast. 7.5-inch AR-15 has a ton of muzzle blast, and that's because you've got a lot of unburnt powder. You've got this 223 or 5.56 pressure cartridge, and it only has 7.5 inches of barrel. So what's happening is, you got tons of tons of powder, tons of flash coming out at the end. It's definitely going to be noticeable. You have a lot of blast. This particular gun, I threw the Vortex flash eliminator on there. I've just because I still have a couple sitting in my parts boxes from years ago, so I just throw it on there, and it does a good job of eliminating at least most of the flash most of the time. So there's still a lot of blast. It's still loud as heck. I have no qualms. If I discharge this in my home, it's going to be loud. The cans, as far as putting a can on something like this, the cans work, and what I mean by cans is like this. They direct the muzzle gases forward. I'm not talking necessarily about suppressors. A suppressor would be a good deal. But if you're just trying to direct the blast forward, that's okay. But here's the problem. Inside of a home, you're going to direct that blast forward, and it's going to come right back off of a wall, and you're still going to get it. We're talking close quarters stuff here. About the only time that I see these work really well is outdoors in a range and whatnot. You're just keeping it from blasting out to the sides. So take that as you will. You're still going to get it inside. The thing is, self-defense situation, if that's what you're worried about, you're talking auditory exclusion, all that stuff, adrenaline, perceptual narrowing, all kinds of things are happening, so you may not notice it. You may still get some hearing damage, but you're not going to notice it at the time, I don't think. So definitely the 9mm wins when it comes to just less muzzle blast, less muzzle flash, all that good stuff. Recoil, it's about the same between these two models. Now granted, if you have something like an MP5 that's a lot smoother, then that's a difference. But between these two right here, this is standard blowback action, direct impingement. The recoil impulse is about the same. So, there's no advantage to either one. Bottom line is, if you're going to get a 7.5-inch 223, whether it's going to be a pistol or you're looking to do a short-barreled rifle configuration, really do your homework on the ammunition. And know that there are some pros and some cons. The pros are it's extremely easy to handle, it's lightweight, the dang thing is still balanced. Really handy for close quarters type work. The cons, you lose a lot of muzzle velocity. You got to be more picky about your ammunition. You've got a lot of muzzle blast, muzzle flash, all that good stuff to contend with. So that could trip up some people. So anyway, enough yammering out of me. It's just a neat little subject that I was thinking about. So I figured I'd talk about it real quick. Hopefully you guys dig it. If not, then you know, it is what it is. But feel free to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Feel free to leave in the comment section your thoughts, whatever they may be. And as always, stay safe out there.